The following program is being brought to you on the Seventh Wave Network. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit seventhwavenetwork.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome. It's time for expansion. It's time for vibrational attunement and channeled messages with the mothers. This is Conscious Conversations with Angela Blaha. In our program today, you will learn about new states of consciousness and seek unity within yourself. Now, here is your host, Angela Blaha.
Hello and welcome to Conscious Conversations. I'm Angela Blaha. I have with me today Deborah DeLisi, and who will be discussing the Abundance Love Project, the stones that blossom into love. Thank you, Deborah, for being with me today.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited to share this project with everyone who's listening.
Great. So I've been checking it out online on Facebook and a couple other places. And what an amazing project that you have created, Deborah. Can you tell us a little bit about how it started?
Yeah, I will. And I'm an artist. That's what I do for a living, and I've done created a lot of things. This is something that I never set out to create. It's one of these things that just grew through synchronicity and through sharing kindness and compassion. And it has its start in a really tragic and traumatic event in my life. It was in September of 2014 that my youngest daughter ended her life. She had depression, and she took too many Tylenol pills, whether it was intentional that she thought it was the last thing she would ever do or not, that I'll never know. But it was the last thing she ever did. And it was devastating to myself and to her sister. Our world changed in an instant. And I got plunged into this incredibly sad, depressing life change. And I live near the beach in Southern California, and basically I was lost and in shock for a number of months, and I spent a bit of time walking the beach by myself, sunglasses on, crying, and it was during these walks that my beach has a lot of stones on it. I started to stop and look at the stones and pick them up sometimes if they were interesting, and they were very smooth and roundish stones, and I started bringing some home. And I had a niece who was going through a difficult time, and I made one of the very first stones for her. And I wanted her to know that she was loved, because I know how hard it is when somebody's going through a rough patch and you think you're all alone and nobody cares. So I made her this stone that said, "You are loved," on it. And I gave it to her when she came to visit me. And she liked it. And I started making more of them. And I decided I'm going to leave these in random places for people to find. It's going to bring a smile to their face. I kind of pictured my daughter, Kate, who had passed away, if she had found one of these, I know she would have texted me or sent me a picture or called me and told me, like, "Can you believe how lucky I am? I found this stone today. Somebody made this and left it, and I just happened to find it." So I started doing this, and I would post pictures on my my art Facebook page about the stones I was hiding. And then people started, friends would write and say, "Oh, those are great. Leave them in my town. I want you to hide them so I can find them." And I kind of laughed and I said, "No, I can't be everywhere. You have to make them. if you want them in your town.
What a great idea.
It was last July that I started this Facebook page, and I came up with the name, The Abundant Love Project. And I said, here's the instructions, here's the pens to use, here's what I do, and it's pretty simple. You just draw a heart on the front, and you write the message, "You are loved," on the back. There's a little note that you can print out that's on the Facebook page. There's 10 on a sheet, and you cut them up, and you leave a note with each stone, and you leave them in a random place for a person to find it. And that was the birth of the Abundant Love Project last July.
Very cool, and such a healing process. So what was your experience with your own healing process of doing this?
It feels, when you lose a loved one like I did, you can't do anything for them anymore. You can't call them. You can't bake them a cake on their birthday. That's it. There's really nothing you can do for them. And I think for my own healing, it was like, well, there's others. There's other people out there that I can do things for. And it is very healing to do that. I actually didn't really know that was going to happen. I didn't set out and say, well, this is going to be a great project for healing. The hurt that's inside of me. It just kind of grew out of that because the stories started coming in from people. The amazing synchronicity about who would find these stones and what it meant to them on that day and where they were in their life. And people would send me messages about that, and I can share some of those with you. They're pretty amazing. And it's healing for the people that make the stones, not just for myself. I get messages about that all the time.
Right. So is there a deeper meaning to stones, or were they just available and so you just started doing art on them, or?
Yeah, it's just that the beach where I walk has a lot of stones. Every winter it seems like the tides shift and bring in a number of stones, and by summer there's less of them, but there's always a lot of stones. And I've walked that beach a lot over the years, and it always seems like, the perfect beach is a beach that's just pure, smooth sand. And it was kind of like, all these stones, they kind of get in the way. But now I see them differently. Now it's like, how lucky am I? I have a beach full of stones. And so some people do write them on seashells if they can't find a stone where they live. I have one woman in Florida who is part of a pottery guild, and she came across this page and started saying, wrote to me and said, we don't have these kinds of smooth stones like you have where I live, but I'm going to make stones of clay with my pottery group.
What a great idea.
They make them out of clay, they paint them, they fire them. I mean, it's really, really an extraordinary act of kindness. And then they give them away, they hide them for people.
Mm-hmm. This is just such an amazing way to heal through art and through the intention of love. Like, I cannot say that enough. Like, it's just, anyone who's lost someone, not even like losing a person, but losing a job or losing anything that you lose, right? You can it's just such a healing message.
It is true, and I use, the example of how this project grew with, my personal story where I lost my daughter, and my daughter Sarah lost her sister. But you can lose a job, you can lose, a loved one. You could lose, your marriage could fall apart. You could lose a friendship. You could lose a belief in something that you once believed in. You could have another trauma. There's a whole host of things that could really be enough to, sink a person's, feelings of belief in the world and belief in good when something like that happens to you and just throws you into grief.
Right. And, and when someone does something nice for you when you are in a state of grief, like there's just such a connection that you make, whether you know them or not know them, but there's just such a heartfelt presence about, having something that someone else actually has thought about you or and it's bringing it totally into your conscious awareness of how loved you really, really are.
Yeah, and there's, how on Facebook there's always these cute little pictures with the sayings on them. And there's one that I saw that I just loved, and I don't know who said this, but it says, helping one person might not change the whole world, but it could change the world for one person.
Right.
And that's really, really so true. Just taking the time to do something kind for one person, it could change the world for that person.
Right. I think we have a tendency to overlook, doing something, small or just those simple acts of kindness. I think that we totally overlook them, that we don't even bring them into our awareness every single day. And we should be doing those kinds of things all the time, right? Versus buying something big or extravagant or, something that has some sort of other message almost attached to them. It's these simple little amazing things that impact people so much and so deeply.
Yeah, and I think that's why this project has taken off, and thousands of people now like the page, and it's not just in the U.S. I mean, there's people in Canada, South America, Spain, Portugal, Germany, Switzerland, Netherlands, Belgium, France, Australia has a lot of stone makers, New Zealand, Israel has quite a few, Singapore, the UK, Poland. It's really catching on. I mean, there was a woman in Israel that sent me a note, and I'll just share it without giving names here, but she said, I would like to thank you for the Abundant Love Project. It's a wonderful, heart-opening present for everyone involved. I had 2 groups of friends making stones at my house, and everybody just loves making them. This morning, one of my friends put a stone at a hospital near the city where we live, went away and visited someone in the hospital. When she came back to leave, she saw a young woman open the stone and open the note from the stone and read it. And she hugged the stone, and I saw her wipe her tears away. What a gift to be able to see this in real time. And wow. I get messages like that all the time.
Wow. Yeah, I'm sure that is like the messages that you receive back, just that's such a confirmation as well. And it's just like, I can't say enough about the Abundant Love Project and the stones that blossom into love. Just, even the vibration of a stone, if we take the vibration of a stone and we add and infuse love to it, it just becomes very, very, very magical. So It does. Yeah. Okay, Deborah, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we're going to come back, and you can tell us some more of your stories.
Oh, thank you. Sure.
The Voice America 7th Wave Channel. Be extraordinary. Be the change.
In Angela's book, Show Me How to Remember Your Power Through Self-Love and Forgiveness, you'll find an empowering book filled with messages of love and forgiveness. She gives powerful ways to use your own courage, strength, and love to heal your emotional and mental body. You can find the book at Amazon or visit Angela's website at angelablaha.com. The book is available in paperback and Kindle formats. Step back into your power. Get Angela's Show Me's at angelablaha.com. Sometimes in the busyness of daily living, we can forget who we truly are as spiritual beings. with intent and purpose fueling our goals and dreams. Remembering begins with navigating belief structures, family or cultural expectations, and history so we can find our way. Listen in to Timeshare with host Marie Jackson. Marie and her regular contributors discuss life's questions, challenges, obstacles, and rewards, all bringing us to the spirit of who we are. Timeshare with Marie Jackson can be heard live every Thursday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on 7th Wave.
The Voice America 7th Wave Channel.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations. To connect with Angela Blaha or her guest today, please call into the program at 1-866-472-5795. That's 1-866-472-5795. You may also send an email to angelablaha005@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations.
Welcome back. This is Angela Blaha, and I have Deborah DeLisi with me, and we're talking about the Abundant Love Project. Deborah, I have a question for you. Do you still use the stones every day to connect with your daughter?
Yes, I do. I make them all the time. I sit on my couch at night in the evening, and I've got stones and my paint pen next to me, and I draw on them, and I make them, and I put them in a bowl, and keep them, and as I head out, I throw them in my purse and leave them. And that's fun. It's really fun to figure out where to leave them for somebody. And I do think, when this happened and my daughter, left this earth, all my beliefs were shattered. I used to believe, in angels and reincarnation, and then I went the other direction. I didn't know if anything was possible. Right. But as these stories started coming in, I started to think, I think Kate is watching over me, and I think she is knows about this project, because there was a woman who contacted me just through a message on the page, and she said, I found some stones, and I'm going to scatter them around this one area in North Carolina. And I'm going to send you the pictures. I don't want to post them myself because I want to be completely anonymous. I want people to imagine that maybe fairies or the universe or elves or Davic beings left these stones. So I said, oh, that's wonderful. The area that you're leaving these in is where my daughter lived. This was her favorite town. She wanted to be here, and this is very meaningful. And I wrote to her and I said, her ashes are scattered in this area too. And I told her kind of the general area where they were. And she wrote back and she said, oh my gosh, I can't believe the synchronicity of this. She said, first of all, I also lost a daughter. And I don't know how, but I found your page, and this is amazing. And she said, and the area where I left the stones were on a trail, and my daughter loved to hike, was on a trail that was actually very close, almost right next to where her ashes were scattered. So, when I get stories like that, this woman said to me, originally when I wanted to hide these stones, I thought I need to hide them where people who need them the most might find them. Maybe I should leave it near a homeless shelter, a hospital, some kind of a big shopping center. And then she said she just felt this intense guidance to leave them in this other area of town, which was very woodsy and had hiking trails. So when I told her, no, you actually left them very close to where my daughter's ashes are, it kind of all came around and made sense. And it makes one believe, like, yes, there's angels and beings, and our loved ones can look down on us from the realm that they go to when they leave this earth.
Right, and I'm going to add that they can help us. They can help us heal, and they can help us, create this magical, like the woman who you've been, conversing with. It's almost like a magical aspect that she wanted to create that didn't keep it in the human realm, that it went beyond, to bring our consciousness and make us aware that, there is life after death. So I want to talk a little bit about synchronicities and how these are all like magically they sort of coincide, right? So do you believe in synchronicities?
I do. And with this project, it's kind of really, it's like, okay, I'm getting so many stories of these synchronicities that there's something to it. It has to, it works, it's real.
So what does synchronicity mean to you?
To me it means kind of like allowing and not trying to, I guess, allowing and going with the flow of something. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, crazy synchronicities can show up in your life.
Right, like the lady who listened to Go to the Woods instead. I'm pretty sure that was your daughter trying to make that connection and bring awareness to other people within, not just homeless or people who are, feeling pain and suffering, but people who are, just wandering around in the woods and looking for maybe some sort of symbol to help them heal in their own life. So what a fantastic idea.
Yeah, there was a gentleman in Florida, and he wrote to me, and the first thing he said was, this movement of painting rocks and leaving them in random places, it's doing its job. And he said that he was staying at a friend's house, and he felt an urge to get on a bicycle and ride to the beach, even though he knew he was going to miss the sunset. So he got on the bike, and he felt that there was something for him at the beach, and he wasn't sure. And while he was riding over there, he said he was thinking about one of his friends who he was supposed to be hearing from, and he said as soon as he got to the beach, the first thing he saw was someone who looked just like his friend. But it wasn't his friend that he was supposed to hear from, but he's like, oh, that's weird. I was just thinking of this guy, and now I'm seeing this person who looks just like him. And the second thing that happened was he found one of the stones, and he couldn't believe it, because he said that the universe had dealt him something that was, let's just say it was a relationship thing that he was feeling in his heart. It was something that was kind of a sad event that happened to him. And then he gets this stone that says, you are loved, the universe is watching out for you, you have a gift to give to others, and please know that that's acknowledged. And the other thing the note says is, post a photo and tell us your story. And he said he couldn't believe it said that because he was also writing his biography. So he took that as confirmation that he should continue writing his biography. And it was really cool. And the person who left that stone for him was just someone who was vacationing from Germany and happened to leave it on a beach there. So it's very cool how somebody leaving a stone, it hooks up with the right person, and it validates something for them. There was another woman who was walking on Valentine's Day locally here, and there's a statue nearby in a neighboring town of a surfer that it's kind of subject of ridicule. They feel like the statue is kind of a little bit silly looking. But her husband was the one who read a poem at the dedication. He wrote and read a poem at the dedication of this statue that's well known here. And she was walking there on Valentine's Day, and she couldn't believe it, but she found a stone there. And she said it meant so much to her because her husband had just died of cancer less than a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. And they were married for 40 years, and she said finding this stone at this very special spot that meant a lot to us, it felt like a sign from her husband, and she was incredibly touched by it.
Right, so these are just not coincidences.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. These are divinely guided messages and divinely guided, people who are basically using their own intuition and following their own wisdom to help and heal other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this project, Deb, that you have created, do you feel like that was divinely created?
I kind of do because, as an artist, there's many things that I've kind of created with a purpose behind it. When I first did it, like, I'm going to, let's say, like I just made a coloring book. So I'm going to make a coloring book and I'm going to, sell it on Amazon and that sort of thing. This one, it just kind of was like, you know what, I'm really sad. I'm just going to be present with that and not try to make it something other than it is. And I'm just going to let people know, like, you know what, life can be great and life can have those times that's not so great. But you know what, underneath it all, you're loved and you're special enough that somebody made this stone for you. And it wasn't really thinking that it was going to kind of have a ripple effect and others were going to start doing it. I thought it might be me and maybe 5 other people would do this. And so I do feel like it was very synchronistic and, the beings that guide me from the other side were probably helping me with some of the thoughts of, like, creating a Facebook page for it and things like that.
Right. Right. So it's just, I can't say enough about how, like I can sense, I'm a channel, so I can sense, like, your daughter being here with us and how it's just so, magical for her to help in this sort of way, to help not just you and your family, but to help, like, worldwide people who are just, need a little bit of encouragement or need a little bit of recognition that there is something greater than what we see, feel, hear, and just sort of know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a woman that wrote to me and she said, today has been a particularly tough day and full of sad thoughts. I was feeling particularly low as I struggled with some of the issues in my life right now. I pulled up to my post office in my tiny little town to mail a letter, and right there on the mailbox was a love stone telling me that I was loved. It was a most welcome and wonderful surprise. I thank the person who created this. It meant more to me than you'll ever know.
Oh.
And it's just, just something little, you're having a bad day. You go to the post office and you find that, and it's like, okay, it helps someone to know that, sometimes when we have our own stuff going on, everything is focused inward, and you start examining all the things that are wrong in your life, and it can really spiral downward. And to think that, wait a minute, there's something maybe bigger than me, some kind of a force, the universe. Some people use the word God, other words, that there's something bigger than me out there that's actually has a lot of love for me, that's watching over me, that wants me to know that this world does have a kind aspect to it, too. and that they get to experience that, even if it's something as small as a stone.
Exactly. So we're going to take another little bit of a break, and then we'll be right back and talk more about the Love Project.
Okay.
Be visionary. This is the Voice America 7th Wave Channel.
In Angela's book, Show Me How to Remember Your Power Through Self-Love and Forgiveness, you'll find an empowering book filled with messages of love and forgiveness. She gives powerful ways to use your own courage, strength, and love to heal your emotional and mental body. You can find the book at Amazon or visit Angela's website at angelablaha.com. The book is available in paperback and Kindle formats. Step back into your power. Get Angela's Show Me's at angelablaha.com.
Being Here with Ariel and Shia Kane is an ordinary person's guide to modern-day enlightenment. This show is an exciting exploration which opens the door to living in the moment. Don't miss Being Here. Tune in every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern with Ariel and Shia Kane, right here on the 7th Wave Network.
When you learn to see things from a spiritual perspective, it changes the way you see virtually everything in your life. Listen for Dr. Paula Joyce and her program, Uplift Your Life, Nourishment of the Spirit. Our program will help you get rid of the negative aspects of your life and invite love, joy, and prosperity into your life. Turn that negative feeling into a positive one. Tune in to Uplift Your Life, Nourishment of the Spirit every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America 7th Wave Channel.
Follow us on Twitter at VoiceAmericaTRN. Get the lowdown on guests, new shows, and your favorites. That's VoiceAmericaTRN.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations. To connect with Angela Blaha or her guest today, please call into the program at 1-866-472-5795. That's 1-866-472-5795. You may also send an email to angelablaha005@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations.
Welcome back. I'm here with Deborah DeLisi, and we are talking about the Abundance Love Project, the stones that blossomed into love. And so, Deborah, you have another story for us?
Yeah, I can't say I shouldn't say I have a favorite, but I am really touched when I hear stories about kids making the stones, because I just love kids. And there is a person that I know that did a Valentine's Day party up in the San Francisco area, and one of the people that came to her party, everybody had to make some stones, and one of the women that came was a teacher, and she took this back to her kindergarten students and got them making stones for the Abundant Love Project, and she did it as like a little teaching exercise where they were discussing what people need versus what they want. So what do you actually need versus what do you want? And kind of discussing that, and they've done some good deeds and collected coats for needy people and things like that. And when they got to love, it was like money can't buy the love, but it's something that you need. So they made a list of the people that loved them in the class, and the children were actually surprised to learn that there were people in the world that feel that no one loves them. That was actually something new to them. And so they decided they were making the stones, and they did, and they were told, don't bring these home and just give them to your mom and dad. that's not part of this project. You take them and you leave them. And they sent me a photo, which is up on the Facebook page, of all these beautiful stones. And I just love seeing what kids, do with this. And there was, it's just very touching. There was I think she was 3 years old in New Jersey who made a stone with her babysitter. And they left it on a playground. And another little 3-year-old came along and found that stone. And it was just so cute seeing a 3-year-old making a stone for another 3-year-old.
Right.
And I just love seeing the pictures when the kids get involved. I mean, there's Girl Scout troops that do this, and then there's all sorts of groups. There's one teacher that does this project with her kids. They're in a place where it snows in the winter, and recess is typically indoors. So they do it during recess at the school. And there's kids at summer camp doing this. There was a summer camp in New Jersey where the kids made stones last year and left them outside of a senior center, which it just touches my heart. It's priceless. It really is.
Exactly. And what a great way to teach kids about love, like outside of themselves, and to, talk about what people need. That's a brilliant idea. So,
yeah.
When you started this project, and you gave it to your niece, a stone to your niece, what did you think that she needed at that time?
Yeah, she was having a really rough spell with a lot of personal things and health issues. And I always believed that, she needed, just like a lot of people, just to know that, like, someone has your back. Somebody just loves you unconditionally. And if you write that on the stone, and I told her, keep it in your pocket, and just keep it always there. And when you put your hand in your pocket and you feel it, maybe you'll pull it out and look at it and read it again and just know, like, you're loved. You're loved. Don't give up on yourself. Keep going. Life is worth it. You're worth it. And that's what I really wanted her to know. And I know she knows that now. We're very close.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's another important piece, right? Is like the connection that can be made, especially if you're like intentionally giving them to people that versus, leaving them for strangers to find. But even the connection that's in the stone, the vibration in the stone when you leave them for just pure strangers to find, I can't even imagine if I found a stone like that said that. I think I would just automatically just break down in tears, because it would just be so heartfelt that it would be beyond probably my own comprehension of, wow, somebody took the time to do this, to, create this beautiful piece of art, and now I get to take it home.
Yeah, and it is. It's handmade. Somebody sat there, wrote it out, left it. And when people write and say, like, I found a stone, and I usually like to say, well, actually, I think the stone found you, because
right.
I haven't, except for my niece, I don't usually just hand them to people. Mm-hmm. Maybe I've done it a few times, but I leave them in places, like I'll leave them on a fence post that I walk past a lot. And I can go past that same fence post 3 days later, and nobody has picked up that stone. To me, it's in plain view, but nobody sees it. And then all of a sudden, one day it's gone. And it's like, I like to think that maybe it's invisible until the right person's eyes land on it.
Well, that's a great point, and a good point to bring up as to synchronicities, right? And how, synchronicities happen because of our need. It's a time of when we need something, then the synchronicities always come into play. And divine guidance is always a part of that, for me anyway.
And I do believe that, when you do something, whether any kind of, or anything you make, even if you're just making a cake, you do put a lot of your own energy into it. If something is made with love, you really can feel it. And I think that, I know the universe is made of energy and vibrations, and something that's imbued with love, and maybe someone that might be needing that feeling in their life, like maybe it comes together like two ends of a magnet, like the two poles, and it just draws them to each other. That's one way I like to look at it.
Right. Well, that brings in, the beauty of duality. And how our thoughts, sometimes our thoughts, they can be infused into everything. So, paying attention, being conscious about what we're thinking. Are we thinking about love and how we, want to help people heal themselves? Or are we thinking something else?
Yeah, and when I make them, when I write those words on the back, you are loved, like, I feel it. And I really hope that whoever finds it feels it. And I know that maybe 5 or 10% of the stones that are out there ever get posted on the Facebook page. Most of them people find and they quietly keep them. So I'm only hearing a small portion of the stories that are out there. But the ones that I am hearing are amazing. But I know that they're being found because I do go back to certain places and they're gone. And I'm like, okay, they have a new home. Or I like to think of the people who find them as like keepers of the stones.
Ah, that's a good point. A keeper of the stones.
Some people that find them say, I'm going to keep this for a year and then I'm going to hide it for someone else. I've had a few people say that.
Right, because, like if you're no longer grieving or you're no longer needing, that stone, what a perfect way to gift it to someone else, to give the energy of love and healing to someone else is just to, leave it again. What a beautiful concept.
Yeah, and when you make the stones and you hide them, you kind of get to feel like Santa Claus all year long. You're leaving a gift for someone, and like Santa, doesn't know everybody personally, but he leaves gifts, and you get to do this. You get to leave a gift for someone, and I can't imagine that anyone who would find something handmade by someone else wouldn't bring a smile to their face. But to me, it's the act of making it and leaving it, and that's enough. Some people do like to stick around and kind of stand off to the side and see who finds it. But I like to just leave it. One time I did try and see who found it. I was at a shopping center, and I left it on a bench, and I went and sat across. And I saw people come and sit on that bench and get up, and nobody took that stone. And I was like, you know what? This is a clear message. You're not supposed to see it. It's going to be found. It's going to do its job. You don't have to micromanage and analyze and see everything. You just know it's doing its job. So that was the only time I ever tried to stick around.
Right, and a good point made, to allow divinity to take care of the love that it needs to go to.
You just have to trust it.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about like the stones that blossom into love. So what's your vision of what that looks like?
Of what, how a stone can blossom into love?
Yeah.
It was after I was making these for a while, the stones that I find are kind of like dark, grayish little stones. And after a while, I started thinking of them as little seeds. And the seeds have the heart drawn on them, so that when they're planted, when they grow, they're going to grow love. They're going to grow that heart that's on the front of the seed. And that's kind of how I pictured it, is that these are like planting little seeds. And, the universe takes care of them and shines on them, and the person picks them up. And I like to think that when the person picks them up, that's when the seed starts growing. It starts bringing love to a person. And like I said, it might not change the whole world, but it could change that world for that person in that day, in that month, or maybe for longer than that. Maybe it changes longer, because so many of the people that find these will write to me and say, you know what, I found it, and now I'm going to make them. And I'm going to make them with, my kids. I'm going to make them with my business group. I'm going to make them, with whatever group.
Right. Which just proves that it goes so much further than just a stone with art on it.
Yeah.
Right? This is touching the inner depths of who we really are. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to take a break again, and we'll be right back in a few moments.
The Voice America 7th Wave Channel. Seek greater awareness.
In Angela's book, Show Me How to Remember Your Power Through Self-Love and Forgiveness, you'll find an empowering book filled with messages of love and forgiveness. She gives powerful ways to use your own courage, strength, and love to heal your emotional and mental body. You can find the book at Amazon or visit Angela's website at angelablaha.com. The book is available in paperback and Kindle formats. Step back into your power. Get Angela's Show Me's at angelablaha.com. Sit back, relax, breathe. Reconnect to the still small voice within. Take the time to make a weekly visit to the Sounds of the Heart with host Sandy Goldstone. This unique program will help you cultivate and strengthen your heart's connection and feel love, beauty, and joy. You don't need to fear or suffer. Heed the call. Say yes to living from the heart's truth. Tune in live every Tuesday at 5 p.m. U.S. Pacific Time on the Voice America 7th Wave Channel. Join the evolving consciousness of humanity.
This is the Voice America 7th Wave Channel.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations. To connect with Angela Blaha or her guest today, please call into the program at 1-866-472-5795. That's 1-866-472-5795. You may also send an email to angelablaha005@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations.
Welcome back, and Deborah DeLisi and I were talking during the break about synchronicities, and today is a special synchronicity for Deborah. Do you want to share that with us, Deb?
Sure. I didn't realize it when we scheduled this, but it was actually a year and a half ago today that I did lose my daughter. And I never thought I would be able to get through it, and I'm sure you never really get through it completely, but today it is. It's 1.5 years exactly. So I like to think that sharing this message of using the stones to spread love on this significant anniversary of my daughter's passing also was very meaningful and very synchronistic.
Yes, very divine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So do you have another story for us? I can't wait to hear some more about people's experiences with these beautiful stones.
Yeah, I have, a lot of times people who are suffering from depression do find these stones. And I've had a number of people who have been depressed who found these stones and told me how much it meant to them. But I have, this story is a personal one. It was a year ago, last September, where my daughter Kate had passed away, and I went to visit my daughter Sarah. so we could be together on that, you know, sad, difficult anniversary, come together as a family.
Right.
And I brought some stones with me on my visit, and Sarah and I and my sister went to a local park and left some stones and left them around for people to find. And it was several days later where someone posted on the page, and he said, I found my stone at a park while we were there taking some family pictures. It was perfect timing in my life to have found this stone and the message that came along with it. I was blessed with this beautiful gift. Whoever left it here, I just want you to know that your kind gesture has truly touched me. Thank you. And so I wrote back and I said, well, actually, that's one of the stones that I made. And I think it was the first time that anyone had ever posted that they found one of my stones. And he said he read the story on the page of how this project got started, and he said what was so meaningful to him was that he lost his brother to suicide also. And that he was going to treasure this for the rest of his life, and he felt that it was a synchronicity, a message to him from his brother. That his brother was telling him that he was loved by him, and he said it just meant so much to him. So, you know, that was a pretty profound story of synchronicity on, you know, the first anniversary of Kate's passing.
Right, and I want to take that just one step further, and I think that when they're divinely found in that manner, that there's a message, a deeper message of I'm okay, right? That I'm here I am, and here's a physical remembrance, and here I am, and I'm love, and you can heal with this, with my love that's being infused into the stone. Yeah, so that's so amazing. The people's stories are just so amazing. I'm sure every time that you get a message back, that it's just more and more and more confirmation that this, you know, Abundance Love Project is just, it's healing. It's just so healing for people.
And there was a woman who also sent me a message, and she wrote, I found my stone at work today. I was having a pretty horrible day and found this towards the end of my work day. I really needed this and instantly brought joy to my heart and smile on my face. I read your story and it's bittersweet. How kind and loving of you to pass on gifts of love to people who do not know. I struggle with depression and I'm just now reaching out to get help. I have good days and bad, but it seems I have more bad days. And working in the work that I do, I see many sides to the human race, and most of it seems very negative. I've thought about suicide, but I've always reached out at my darkest moments because I know taking my life will only cause more pain to my loved one. Today I needed that rock, and the note that was inside it made me stop and think, wow, someone cared enough to leave that for me, and somehow God made sure I got it. I just wish I knew who it was so I could hug them. What a great idea you have come up with, and thank you so very much.
And that is the purpose of this project, right? Like,
yeah,
I feel like
it started out with the thoughts of my daughter and just like, just uplift you, just, in that moment, on that day, uplift you. And maybe when you have something like a physical stone and you have it in your possession, every time you look at it, you might remember that feeling of like, yeah, you know what? Somebody made that for me, and somehow, magically, I found it. Somehow, there's got to be some kind of a good force that maybe balances out that not-so-good force that can affect us in this universe.
Exactly. So, Deborah, where can people find more information about the Abundance Love Project?
I don't have a website, but it's only a Facebook page. But if you go to Facebook and it's just do the / Abundant Love Project, all one word, you'll find it there. And it's also on Instagram under Abundant Love Project. And those are the two places where it is right now. And it's really easy to get involved because there's no membership, no certification or training or workshops to attend. There's no annual fees. It's a completely open project. and that's the way that I wanted it. And looking back, I realized maybe why it has become, one of the reasons why it's become so popular is that everyone can draw a heart, and everyone knows where they can find a stone. And you put these two together, and it's extremely rewarding, joyful, and in some ways, I've been told by others, it's very addicting too.
Right. Well, Deborah, it's been such a
good addiction.
Yeah. So it's been a pleasure having you on our show today on Conscious Conversations, and I want to thank everyone for listening in today. And I want to bring it to everyone's awareness of how these simple little things, creating love and infusing a rock with love and leaving it for someone to find, can be so healing and so heartfelt and just change their world. So I encourage you to be your own truth and to follow your own internal love. And until next week, when we chat with Lisa Transcendence Brown about multidimensional conversations, I hope that you have a fantastic week. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning into this week's edition of Conscious Conversations. Be sure to join Angela Blaha for another edition next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America 7th Wave channel. Until our next meeting, have an extraordinary week.